Thank you very much for joining me this evening and tonight. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields. I want to give you the latest as Bret moves in at night and makes landfall, moving over Barbados right now and again working across the islands as we go through the nighttime hours. I'm thinking of you. A lot of us have to go through storms alone. They can be a little bit scary, but know that I'm thinking of you as you deal with this system rolling in. So again, there is Bret. The latest on Bret, winds are down some, always good news, 65 miles per hour or 100 kilometers an hour. That's where we stand. Not seeing any signs that this is going to become a hurricane at this point. That's Tropical Depression 4 back behind it. I'm going to put that on the back burner for this video since we have a landfalling tropical storm that I'm tracking for you right now. And that will become Cindy, by the way, as soon as tonight or early tomorrow morning. That should stay away, and then watching another tropical wave back behind it. No signs of development out of that third one. Here's the very latest. Now, this is a lopsided system. It didn't shift to the north. What's happening is the center is basically over Barbados now, but most of the rain, you see it right there as we take a look at the radar, is north of the center. So the center is over Barbados, but again, the heaviest rain north of it, that's because there's wind shear. It's not a super organized system. If this was a big time hurricane, that rain would be really wrapping in all around it. A huge shield of rain, very symmetric, but we're not seeing that. But again, these bands have been working in. We've already had some of that flooding in spots over toward St. Vincent and The Grenadines, some reports of that, and St. Lucia, just with some bands of rain that have been working in. But as we go throughout tonight, we're going to see the heaviest weather near Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, and some gusty winds as well as we swing over towards St. Lucia. So tropical storm conditions moving in, forecast on track. And let me show you something I don't often show. This is the water vapor. All I want to point out here, here's Bret. Bret's working in. This kind of orangey shading may be a little bit hard to see, but this orangey shading here, that's very dry air. There's the dry air in the wind shear, the winds above our head coming in this direction, cutting across the storm, preventing it from developing further. So again, we have the dry air and the wind shear, both good things to prevent this thing from blowing up, and it is actually going to continue to weaken once it moves into the Caribbean. So generally holding strength tonight. We'll have some fluctuations overnight. I'll be monitoring it overnight, and then it will gradually weaken, staying south of Puerto Rico, in south of Haiti and the Dominican Republic on Saturday, falling apart, and completely falling apart on Sunday. So if you're ahead of this over toward, say, Jamaica, Belize, for example, the Cayman Islands, it's not going to be a system as it works across. It's going to act more like a tropical wave. By next week, some of that rain chance will pick up some over toward Belize and even Sunday into Monday in Jamaica. But again, it won't be a system at that point. Here are those tropical storm force winds, that orange shading again. Sustained tropical storm force winds now. We're seeing that in Barbados, moving into Dominica, Martinique, generally just to the south there of Guadeloupe, St. Lucia, some tropical storm conditions now moving in. And again, it will get worse overnight. The biggest thing with this will be the rain and that concern for flooding and the potential of mudslides. There are the computer models right on track. This crazy purple one you're seeing here, totally out to lunch. That's because sometimes it gets some bad data initially, and then it just gets kind of all messed up. That is one of a version of a model from the Hurricane Center. So again, those models are actually pretty good, but there's all different versions of models. But again, once this gets south of Haiti and near even Aruba, Curacao, Bonaire, may get some scattered showers out of this, but it's going to act more like a tropical wave. Again, falling apart. We're not going to see a big system headed toward Jamaica or anything like that. You see it here. This is over time, this green shading over time. That would be a tropical storm. This would be basically a tropical wave in that white shading. So these are the computer models showing the strength, and over time, again, just a sharp weakening with this system. So again, this has been very much on track over the last 4 to 5 videos, all locked in. So here's the latest. I want to take you through tonight because I know nighttime storms, even though this is not a hurricane, it's a tropical storm. You hear those winds howling. You have a lot of questions about what's going on. Heaviest weather, Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, really St. Vincent north through St. Lucia, Martinique. This is 11 p.m. tonight. So as we approach midnight, yeah, we'll have some of those gustier squalls moving in. My concern again, the highest concern is that flooding. This is 5 in the morning. So again, very late tonight. very early tomorrow morning. You see again heaviest weather, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, Barbados, parts of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Sharp cutoff. Look at St. Martin, for example. Again, next to nothing. We'll wake up to some sunshine in spots tomorrow. Same thing, Puerto Rico. Now, as this passes by, Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, parts of Venezuela, this is going to act like a tropical wave and enhance the chance of rain. So by tomorrow morning, we could see the chance of rain picking up over toward Trinidad and Grenada. I'll be watching that. But still heavy areas of rain. Now, some of this trying to pull more to the west of Barbados by the time we get into tomorrow morning. But some of the same spots tacking on some of the extra rain. But look what happens. By tomorrow evening, those brighter colors I was showing you, the oranges and the reds, they're kind of out of the picture for the most part. Still some yellow shading showing some heavier weather that's still possible on the backside of it. But point being, there's really no core to the system at that point. It's falling apart south of the British and U.S. Virgin Islands. There's that little enhancement, again, acting like a strong tropical wave at this point. And we know strong tropical waves could give us flooding, let alone, again, watching a tropical storm. By the time we get into tomorrow night, starting to fall apart further. But as it starts to pass south of Puerto Rico, you get that enhancement on the backside, as a tropical wave would do, and that will bring some rain toward Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, even the scattered showers starting to break out, Aruba, Curacao, Bonaire, and we need it. This could be good news in spots. But there's some of the heavier rain. So Grenada, Trinidad, Tobago, northern Venezuela, we also have a chance of some flooding. So I want to give you that heads up, especially because over the last week or 2 weeks, we've had some rain in spots. We've already had some of that flooding, working our way into tomorrow night. Again, just keeping an eye out for that flood potential. I want to get to the winds now. The winds here, this kind of white shading, that's where we could have some winds of 80 kilometers an hour or about 50 miles per hour, a little bit higher in spots. We could get some of the gustier winds that will be moving in. Again, the tropical storm conditions, not the hurricane conditions as this works in. This is tonight, but you get that squally weather that you'll be hearing depending on where you are. Kind of sounds a little, always sounds a little extra scary at night, at least it does for me. And then again, we'll see this easterly flow very strong tomorrow morning. And as this system weakens, it kind of spreads out a little bit. But again, worse weather, a very lopsided system to the north. Gusty winds tomorrow morning, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, over towards St. Vincent. And then just going out in time, again, we'll see those higher seas and gustier winds as it works into the central Caribbean. And we'll see some the breeze picking up somewhat. Some gusty winds at times, Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, please share this because it is not coming to you. There's not going to be a big system coming to you out of this. I know there's a lot of false information out there. That's exactly why I do this channel and exactly why I started this channel to kind of combat some of that. So again, we're not seeing a major system headed toward Puerto Rico. I'll dive into that forecast in just a second. Let me break it down specifically, island by island. All islands matter, no matter if we have a ton of people on one island, just a few on another. But let me break down again specifically where this is going. Again, the landfall now in Barbados, working toward Dominica, Martinique, and Guadeloupe. We could see up to 125 millimeters of rain. That is the biggest threat, the possibility of flooding. Of course, we're going to have some power loss. On top of it, we've had the power shut off, again, in advance of this, depending on what type of grid, which country you're in. Sometimes the power gets shut off ahead of time. I've been noting that as we've gone through the afternoon. Scattered power loss here, anywhere from St. Lucia south. Again, some spots have shut off the power, but watching out for mudslides, flooding. Worse weather, though, St. Lucia, as we go south a little bit better. But I mentioned that enhancement. So leave those comments, Trinidad and Tobago tomorrow if you're getting some rain. We'll see some gustier winds at times. Could see 90 kilometers an hour wind over toward St. Lucia. So we could have some of the gusts 50, 60 miles per hour as this does come through. And again, just to show you Anguilla, Antigua, Barbuda, Saba, St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat, Statia, St. Martin, St. Bart's. Again, worse weather simply down to the south. Same thing in Puerto Rico. Again, what's left of this system down to the south as we get into late Friday, Saturday. We'll get some of the scattered showers, some breezier or gustier conditions, but again, falling apart to the south. For the rain, it is going to be a very close call. It's going to be a small pocket very high amounts, which means there'll be a sharp divide. This is a computer model. It's not exact. It's not saying we're not going to get a whole lot in Guadeloupe. It's saying that there's just going to be a sharp divide. Some spots are going to get upwards of 150 millimeters. You see almost that black shading showing up there. So just kind of a wait and see. But at this point, you're prepared. I've been harping on the flooding. I've been discussing that a lot, watching the rivers, those river crossings tomorrow through the weekend, because you get that runoff and then everything takes time and filters down to the river. So watch out for that. But we could have some spots near St. Lucia, again, over 100 millimeters of rain, and that's about 4 inches. And that's kind of the threshold for some serious flooding in some spots. And then watching this, here's Trinidad and Tobago, northern Venezuela. We could see that enhancement after this passes by Friday into Saturday, where we could again get some spots over 100 millimeters of rain. So the worst weather overnight into tomorrow morning, isolated areas of torrential rain that will lead to that flooding. The system will be weakening as we go throughout our Friday, watching the rivers and the streams very carefully. Again, going through a storm, even though this is not a hurricane, going through one at night, especially if you're in one of those flood-prone areas, it can be nerve-wracking. I want you to know I'm thinking of you throughout the night. I'll be checking in on things throughout the night. Forecast is holding. Knowledge is power. And again, you've been following me, and I appreciate that, sharing the channel. So you've done your part with the awareness on this. We've hit the spots together of where we could see some of the worst weather overnight, but I've got you in mind. And until then, stay safe. Let me know what's going on where you are safely in the comments section as we build this weather community together. Have a good night.